And joining me today, we have two guests from Arch Systems. We have Gadi Meik on my extreme left, and we have Dino sitting next to me. So welcome, gentlemen. Nice to see you. Last time I spoke with Arch, you were starting to roll out some new modules, essentially, for some of the smaller companies that maybe want to take a step-by-step approach to implementing a digitization strategy. How is that going, Gadi?
Hi.
Yeah.
So actually, yes, last year we talked about two modules that we are developing, and it actually is both for small and bigger one. But we're trying to approach. We were mainly on SMT and electronics, so we are spreading our bandwidth and supporting what is called in discrete manufacturing. Within that, you have operations that are relatively small. What we are actually providing, we are providing a product that is called GLOW, that stands for Global and Local Operation. What we are actually providing is a tool to monitor the performance of the operation for the global managers in order to see what's overall, and also for the local operation to take actions, valuable actions to get improvement.
Okay. Now, if I'm right, this is called Insights, this particular program. And they were looking at different parts of the process. So they might look at the relationship between the printer and the SPI, for example, as one module. Another one might be the pick and place correction, auto correction after the pick and place. Is that have you developed it along these lines? The other aspect, as I recall, was that they were going to have the option to share that data. So that they get the benefit that you would get from, for example, from some of your tier 1 customers, where they get to see all the trend data from all the different printers across the
Good memory you have.
Yeah.
So yes, so actually we have the GLOW that I just described what we are doing. Then second product is Process Insight. And the Process Insight actually look into the process, like you were saying, solder in SMT. Of the process. That will be the persona, will be the engineers, the technician, in order to get improvement, and actually provide the valuable information of what's the action need to take.
Right.
So we have a product that we are gathering this information, and I will touch, the tier 1 and what you were asking, gathering those insights in a valuable way, in a visual way to the engineers, and providing alert on time that actually will take actions, reduce the downtime, improve, the productivity of the line. Now, what we are seeing is, from that point of view, that from tier 1 is that organizations are losing experts.
Okay.
So when you're losing expert, you need to gather this information, valuable information, experienced information. We support an interface tool that actually the information is there, and then, as you say, Trevor, we actually share this information across the organization.
Right, right. So you're managing to capture the information from the experts before they leave the company, essentially. Okay. I mean, Dino, from your point of view, you're a customer expert, customer service expert, basically. What sort of requests and demands are you getting to help companies with their digitization strategies?
Right. It's a good question. It's a very interesting one as well. What we see is overall we see a need for actionable intelligence from our clients. So, the analogy I would use is turning darkness into light.
Okay.
For those plant managers and line operators that don't have that visibility into the operation of the manufacturing process, and they want to have it in order to improve their operation. So we see that across the customer base. Of course, there's certain differences between larger clients, tier 1 and tier 2 and tier 3. Yeah. But overall, pretty much everybody's looking for data. And the way we capture the data, we're not just capturing the data, but also using our expertise, where we provide recommendation on best practices and how to leverage the data to improve their processes. So that's a common thread across our customer base.
Right. Right, interesting. So, I mean, Gadi, the tier 1 guys, you're pretty well, you're pretty well entrenched with these guys. I mean, and you're doing a really strong job there. What have you learned from that relationship that you can now apply to the smaller companies?
That's a good point. So tier one, maybe tier two, but tier one mainly, the process are more the automation process for the system, I would say, not just the process itself, are more contextual, more based. So it's more easy and more effective to look into, process insight from that point of view, because the data is automation, the data is there, the MES is there. When you are entering to more deeper, like tier 2, tier 3, that's more manual, change over a lot, using the same machine for different products, more idle time,
Right.
and more manual information. It makes challenge for us, but we are also able to gather that information, as Dino mentioned. Everyone wants the insight in order to get improvement eventually. So it's how you get that, how you connect to
But
that.
it's a lot more difficult, I would imagine, trying to work with the tier 3s and 4s where they're doing high mix, low volume. Because if they've got a lot of different turns, they've got a lot of different setup routines to go through. It begs for automation, it really does. But I would say it's probably still a more complex thing to put together.
Yeah, I believe that I will use more complex from that point of view to gather the information. But maybe just, I would say a little bit more complex, but we are able, and we are actually building our product to support that level in any layer.
Okay. So, Dino, I mean, how easy do you find the buy-in from the big companies versus the small companies? The big companies are making the same thing every day. They've got the economies of scale, so they've got the deeper pockets. I'd imagine it's fairly easy at that level, but how do you find it between the smaller companies? How do you find the buy-in?
I think it's similar. I mean, from a buy-in perspective, it's relatively similar. Each company is different in the way they approach the deployment of our solution and the utilization in the end. But overall, everybody wants to have it, wants to dig deep into the solution and leverage the data we provide. Certainly, since we're dealing with global companies, there are cultural differences sometimes that we have to deal with. There are differences of technology that we have to deal with as well. But overall, I think I would say there's a common thread across these companies. It's really hard to say that a certain tier of a company is processing our data or utilizing or having a need for our data different than the other.
Right. Okay. Now, Gadi, did you mention before we started that you were working on a new platform, or you're launching a new platform with Arch? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah. So just bridging, what we are talking before. Our platform, that is the Glow, is actually monitoring the operation performance. KPIs like OEE, yield, utilization, and those are driving by machine performance.
Right.
Also by process insight. So we are actually accelerating those information in our tool to actually, whenever there is a violation or a trend or a drift of the process that will affect the OEE and the performance, we are driving a closed loop alert to a specific support team to take action.
Okay.
So we are not waiting until the end of the shift or at the end of the build to say, there was an issue.
Yeah.
We are generating the insight, and we are actually accelerating the response time.
Right, that's interesting. Now, I mean, one of the other areas that, in fact, we were talking about in our last panel discussion there was ESG and sustainability. It's becoming much, much bigger in importance with companies. Are you being involved in sort of creating systems to monitor and digitize the results of CO2 emissions and things like this with companies?
Yes, that we are seeing that. Emission 3 and all that approach is being asked very a lot. So we are touching that as well. We have several customers that are requesting to see what is the power consumption of the machine. And we are trying to build statistical model to support that. So we don't need to put a PLC on any machine to measure that, because that will be very expensive. But then try to build statistical model that will be valid to measure, the consumption. And that will be part of the KPI that we will present in Glow. OEE and also power consumption in the future.
Okay, great. When can we expect to see Glow being released, or has it been released yet?
It has been released.
Okay.
I think that we are just engaging that, so we are excited about that.
Good, good, good. Okay, well, we certainly look forward to learning more about it once it's been in the field for a little while. And I want to thank you for coming in and talking to us today.
Thank you so much.